In this week's podcast, we'll talk about overcoming the mid-project blues. How do you get over that hump that happens in the middle of the project? I'll also share a new creativity practice exercise to help really get those creative juices flowing. And yes, I'm going to answer another listener question. So stay where you're at, and I'll be right back.
This is the Killer Innovations Podcast with Phil McKinney. Keep in mind that the information and opinions expressed in this podcast are Phil's, and Phil's alone, and they don't necessarily reflect those of his past, current, or future employers. Now, here's Phil McKinney.
Recently over in the blog, I've been posting some posts with regards to how do you get over that last little push? How do you get a project out the door? You're close, but there's always that little bit of self-doubt. A lot of things all have to come together at the end, and you just got to push to get it through. It's really about that push, about how do you get it through the end and just get it done. However, one of the biggest risks to an innovation ever seeing the light of day is what I call the mid-project blues, especially if your management team gets the blues. Now, when you look back on every project, and I've done a number of projects over my career, and I can kind of break down kind of three stages that you go through whenever you're going to start a project that's going to be kind of a change the world, high impact, a real killer innovation. There's kind of these three stages of emotional, changes, I guess, that you go through. The first one is the startup enthusiasm. You're in love with the idea. You're passionate about it. You've been pushing on it. And guess what? Management signed off. You're going to get to do the project of your dream. We all go through that startup enthusiasm, and it's really fueled by the lack of constraint. You don't know what you don't know at this stage of the project. You believe wholeheartedly in the benefits of this idea that you've generated, and you are just ready to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And then somewhere in the middle of the project, you go into what I call the second phase, the mid-project blues. At this point, the size, the scope, the complexity are all too real. Management has started throwing up roadblocks. The corporate antibodies are coming out in full force, trying to drag you by your heels back down into the role that you were in before. But the mid-project blues are real, and you have to deal with them. Assuming you get past the mid-project blues, then you're kind of at that end-of-project euphoria. You've launched it. It's gone out there. It's gaining market success. There's recognition that comes with finally pushing it through. You did it. And once you've experienced this end-of-project euphoria, you'll want to do it again. Trust me. It's one of those things that just keeps me going day in and day out because I've felt this euphoria a number of times. And once you feel it, you want to do it again. It's like a drug. You just can't get enough of it. But let's face it, to get to that euphoria, you have to fight through these mid-project blues. Now, in reality, your career is based on succeeding, which is usually enough to push through these mid-project walls. Now, if your project's kind of the normal project and we all go through the blues, then you can kind of just push through it. When you're really out there on the edge, though, the valley that you're going to run through with these blues is deeper than you've ever had anywhere else in your career. You will feel alone. You're down in this valley. You've left the peak of the excitement of the startup. You can't even see the peak for the project success at the end. And you're down in the valley. You've been slugging through with all your different departments, or raising money, or dealing with investors, or dealing with the marketplace, dealing with your customer, whatever it is, you're down in that valley. Now you have to keep in mind, everyone experiences it. Nobody is immune. The questions you're going to start asking yourself is, I'm not making enough progress. It's not moving fast enough. You know, this whole analogy of hilltops and valleys is very real. It's very fast to get from the euphoria of the startup down into the valley, and it's very hard to get up out of the valley and get back up onto the mountaintop of the euphoria of success. At some point in this valley, you're going to ask yourself, why am I doing this? The hours are long. It's stress upon yourself. It's stress on your family and friends. It's going to stress relationships. Why are you doing this? And then ultimately, you're going to point to yourself and say, you know something? This is just too hard. I can't do it. I'm stuck. I bit off too much than I can chew. It's beyond my skill set. These are all the things you're going to start telling yourself when you're down in this valley. Here's my first word of advice. Don't believe it. To get over the wall, you have to remind yourself why you started the project. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big believer of doing and using notebooks. If you document them in notebooks, you can go back and relive kind of what was the kernel of the idea that got you so excited and so passionate to convince someone to back you in driving that project. So look back at your notebooks. Re-look at the pitch you did, whether that's to your investors, to your spouse to convince them that you wanted to change careers, to your friends. Go back and relive the pitch that you were so excited about. It's easy when you're down in this valley to get discouraged. Look back at what fueled your excitement. The other thing is, take a break. You need to refresh. You need to regain your perspective. It's never as bleak as it looks when you're down in the bottom of the valley. Now, I'll tell you a little personal story. One point in my career, I took 14 months off to go do or help launch a brand new wireless carrier here in the U.S. It was New York City. I worked 14 months, 7 days a week, never taking a single day off for 14 months. Now, when I look back in the perspective of that, yes, it was a time crunch. Yes, it was a breakthrough kind of service we were launching. But was it worth it? No. At many times in the project, I can look back and say that I had lost perspective. I had lost kind of that enthusiasm during the startup phase of launching that business. Had I taken some time off, I think I would have had a better perspective, and it wouldn't have been so hard on me or my family. You need to get your perspective back. You need to take a break. Now, if you're like me, I definitely have workaholic tendencies, and they show. I will work myself crazy on projects that I truly believe in. But you need to go on vacation. You need to go on vacation where there's no work involved. Disconnect. Drop the electronics. Truly go away and gain your perspective back. Early in our marriage, my wife actually used to pick vacation spots that purposely did not have any form of communications. No cell phone coverage at all. Now, 25 years later, it's becoming much harder to go find those kind of places, but you have to find a way to disconnect. And you have to trust family members who are pointing out to you that you're losing perspective. So you need to take a break. One other idea for getting over the wall is you need to come up with more ideas. You've gone dry. You had the excitement when the idea was first being created. You were holding brainstorming sessions. You were defining what it is you were going to go do, whatever it was. Now you're actually in the execution. If you're a creative person, what's really drawing you into this valley also is the fact that you're not creating. You're executing. Now, some of us that are more on the creative side are great at the early stage of a project, and we really struggle through the valley in the later part of the projects. So you need to come up with more ideas. So host an ideation session. Get people together. Take a look at your current project. Come up with ideas that you could implement as part of the project phase you're in right now. Or start building the post-launch roadmap. Get yourself excited. Re-look at the end line, the goal, the target that you're trying to achieve, and actually start planning on version 2 of the product after you get past the launch. That will also help you get your excitement back. You will gain perspective on the benefits of your idea and the benefits it's going to have on your customers, on your users, on society, whatever your idea is. So rather than just sitting there trying to drive just straight through execution, actually get back into creating. Now, the other warning with regards to getting into the valley is don't let fear overtake you. It's easy to have a lot of self-doubt, particularly when you're down in the valley. Don't let fear overtake you. Now, what it's really about, what fuels the fear is really the prospect of failure. Now, for most people, the prospect of failure is enough to stop some people from even starting. You've started. You're in the valley. How do you get yourself out of the valley? Now, everyone has dark moments. You know, you're starting to doubt whether the real merits of the project, they start to become foggier and less clear, and you're less certain of them. The weaknesses of the project become larger than life. The fear of failure can be crippling when you're in this valley. Now, let's put some perspective on this. What's the worst thing that can happen if the project fails? Okay, some people may laugh at you. You may, your boss may doubt, the overall value. Get over it. You can't let failure be the limiting factor. And in fact, if your management team is going to hold failure against you, then maybe it's the wrong organization that you're involved with. And let's get over it also. If you're worried about someone laughing at you, guess what? If you're listening to this podcast, you are already a strange duck. You're a strange duck because you're into innovation. There aren't too many of us out here, so just get used to the fact that you're in the same boat with me, and we're all strange ducks. So what is it you're going to lose if you fail? Your position, your job, your whatever? Let me give you my perspective. I have taken a huge amount of risks. I've moved my family all over. I've done startups. I've done large companies. I've done a wide range of technologies. I've done a wide range of products, everything from the early days of computer-based training to biometric security to telecommunications. I've never taken a risk that I've later regretted. Now, you get scared to death. You're worried, is this going to work out, particularly if you're making the leap into the startup? I can honestly sit here and tell you, I've never taken a risk that I've later regretted. Now, to get over this fear of failure, list everything that could go wrong. List everything. Sit down on a piece of paper. Rather than letting it roll around in your head, list it out. List everything that could go wrong. And then create a mitigation plan to overcome the issue. How do you avoid the risk? How do you avoid this point of failure? So create a mitigation plan to overcome each issue. Get creative. Use an ideation session to create the mitigation plan of everything you're scared about when you're down in this valley. Because it's really easy when you're in this valley to let fear overtake, and then you become crippled, and then you never get yourself out. The fear becomes self-fulfilling because you don't work through the issues. You let fear overcome, you let self-doubt overcome. Let's get back to the point. You started this project because of something you were passionate about. You've changed this career. You started this company. You've done something because of your passion and your energy. Get that back. And the easiest way to do that is, one, take a break. Get your perspective back. But remember, everyone gets the mid-project blues. Nobody is immune. Even that happy person that comes into the office every day is going to suffer through this. Everybody gets the mid-project blues. Now keep your eye on the thrill of delivering the killer innovation, that euphoria, that recognition, seeing users use whatever the idea is you generated, seeing it have the impact that you envisioned. Keep the eye on that. Don't let fear paralyze you. Push through it. And let me tell you, the one point here is, and I can tell you from my own personal experience, the results and the thrill and the euphoria that you will feel when you succeed will be more than worth the struggles that you're going through right now. This week, we're going to answer a listener question, and this is actually a conglomeration as I get a lot of questions, but probably the most common question I get is, hey, I'm a creative person. How do I get a job that's a better fit for me? I'm in this job and I'm really more tuned to being a creative person. How do I get myself into that new job at the company I'm at? Well, here's the easiest answer I can come up with. Create the job. Act as if you are in the role. Now, keep in mind, you need to keep doing your day in and day out job. So take on the extra task. Take some initiative. Act as if you are already in the role that you want. And do this above and beyond your normal task. Participate in brainstorming sessions. Be an excellent beta tester. Not just write down bugs, but come up with creative ideas to fix the problems that are in the product that you're testing. Submit your ideas to management teams, not just the raw list, but go through and create what a focused area of innovation should be for your company. Run the ideation session with other people, do it over lunchtime, rank order those, prioritize them, and put together a proposal to your management team. Another is create a community of creativity within your organization. Be shown as a leader. Share best practices. Teach others. As I've said in this podcast over and over again, pass it forward. If you're listening to this podcast, hopefully I've given you some skills that you can learn yourself, but pay it forward. Some major corporations actually listen to this podcast, and then they hold weekly sessions where they chat about it and talk about how they can apply it to what they're doing day in and day out. So again, create a community of creativity. Get like-minded people. As I said before, let's face it, we're all strange ducks. We're into this innovation. We know the value. We're on the early leading edge of how do you really make this real for businesses and for nonprofits and for individuals in their day-to-day lives. So face it, you're a strange duck. Go find other strange ducks in your organization and bring them together and create that community. If your company already has an innovation role, then make sure your skill set is up to snuff. Just by claiming that you're a creative innovation type of person does not qualify you for the job. Understand what the requirements are and make sure your skill sets are up to snuff. Now, that doesn't mean education. It means skills. Do you have a portfolio? Can you show products that you worked on? Can you just show or highlight ideas that you're working on in your own notebooks? Create a portfolio that you can use and show people, show bosses, show companies the kinds of ideas and the kinds of areas that you're passionate and interested in. Show your capabilities if they've got a role already inside your organization. Show them not in the form of a job application and a resume. Show them in actual day-to-day activities. And then also speak up. If you're interested in a role and you're interested in participating in an organization within your company or within your nonprofit that can really highlight or take advantage of your skills, speak up. Management's not going to know your interest or your passion if you don't speak up. Sit down with your manager. Plan your career out. Tell them what you're interested in. Tell them how you're doing things on your own time to get your skill sets built up to get ready for this role. But let them know that you're interested in that position. And the last but not least, if you've got a company that just doesn't get it, either they don't have the role or you're trying to create the role, but they just don't get the whole creativity innovation space, then go to a company that does get it. For this week's podcast, rather than giving a closing thought, I'm going to actually give you an innovation exercise. So again, this is part of the process of having you practice the skill. As I've said many, many, many times before, creativity is a skill that you can learn, that you can practice, and that you can become proficient at. So here's an exercise for you to do. Now, if you're in the car, this is going to be a little bit tough to do. If you're running, it's probably also going to be tough to do. So you want to come back to this part of the podcast when you're down someplace. The key, where you can sit down. The key here is you will need paper or index cards. And for those of you who've actually met with me or who know me, you know I'm big on index cards. I carry stacks of them in my briefcase. You need a pencil or a pen to write with, and you'll need a stopwatch or an egg timer. Now, Imagine you've just been given a pen made of clear plastic. Now, the key here, though, is the pen has no ink. Now, in 1 minute, how many ideas can you come up with for the pen? The pen is made out of clear plastic. It has no ink. In 1 minute, how many ideas can you come up with? Now, most people come up with one idea, which is throw the pen away. Now, the most I've ever seen is 15 ideas. That's one every 4 seconds. I'm not going to give you the answers. I'm not going to give you the list of ideas. You have to go to the blog and look at what other listeners have posted. I'll put a list out there also. And I want you to post your list of ideas. So again, imagine you've just been given a pen made out of clear plastic, but it has no ink. The ink is empty. In 1 minute, how many ideas can you come up with for uses for this pen? Can you come up with at least 15? Can you come up with 10? Can you come up with 5? Log on to the blog and post your list. And let's see how many ideas you can come up with. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. I look forward to your feedback and questions. Email them to me at podcast@killerinnovations.com. Also, we can connect via Facebook, so you can find me under Facebook. You can also send me an invite via LinkedIn, again, via the email address at podcast@killerinnovations.com. Also, join the discussion. Members of this or listeners to this podcast are a very close community. They do chat a lot. You can join in on the blog by posting comments to the blog entries. You can also post your own comments with regards to the podcast under the show notes on the podcast site. Or you can participate in the Killer Innovations group on Facebook. Also, pass it forward. One of the reasons I do this podcast is a way of paying it forward from the early mentors that I had in my career. All I ask is that you pay it forward. Tell others. Link your website to the Killer Innovations site so people can make it easier to find the podcast. Get your management team to listen. Let me be a tool to help you unlock that career opportunity that you're really looking for and take it to the next step. And thanks for taking the time. I know it takes a lot of time out of your busy schedule to go to iTunes or go wherever you find this podcast, download it, load it into your MP3 player, and listen to it. I truly do appreciate it. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.